Welcome to UNAM Chicago's CAFÉ EXPRESSO, a space for bilateral conversations with people from all walks of life. And now your host, Alberto Foncerrada.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first edition of 2023 of CAFÉ EXPRESSO. My name is Alberto Foncerrada, and I am your host. CAFÉ EXPRESSO is a program where we usually engage with people from all walks of life and just bring topics that are of interest to everyone. Today, I'm very happy to introduce Hanna Buxbaum. She's a friend of ours. She's a colleague. She's the Vice President for International Affairs at the University at Indiana University. And we have done extensive work with her. So welcome, Hanna.
Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, the reason I invited you, and I'm glad you accepted, is because I want to tell our audience a little bit about the Big Ten. I mean, people hear about the Big Ten, and some people kind of like immediately think about sports and the basketball teams or the college football teams. But not many people in Mexico, at least, know exactly what the Big Ten is, or the Big Ten academic alliances, which is, I think, more like the Big 14 these days, right?
Yes, we're expanding.
So can you tell us a little bit about what it is? How did it come about?
Sure. So as you say, I agree that when most people hear the phrase Big Ten, they think immediately of athletics. But there is, as you say, the Big Ten Academic Alliance, which is, the academic side of this group of universities. It is more than 10 universities now, and we are expanding to include USC and UCLA relatively soon. So essentially, the provosts of the Big Ten campuses maintain this academic group where the universities come together, I think, both to share best practices and further our shared mission as these large research universities, but also sometimes to engage in shared initiatives of various kinds. And the Academic Alliance has a number of interest groups, I will put it that way, where, for instance, all of the communications directors from the different universities have their own working group, in addition to the provosts, again, representing the universities as a whole. So there is one of these interest groups for the senior international officers of the Big Ten, and that is the group in which I participate. It's really quite wonderful to work routinely with colleagues from similarly situated universities. A lot of us are engaged in similar activity in promoting global engagement. As you know, we all maintain a robust network of international partners, and many of us have overlapping partnerships with universities around the globe. We also are interested where we can in engaging collectively in particular initiatives. So we meet. We try to meet in person at least once a year. Well, really twice a year. And then during COVID, we had a lot of Zoom meetings as we were working through the challenges to international engagement there. But it's a wonderful group.
Now, you were the chair of this SIO, right? The Senior International Offices. Are you still in that capacity?
Yes, I'm currently serving as chair of this group. Mm-hmm.
So what your role is, basically you gather all these people and you send them communications for the upcoming meetings and all of these.
Yeah, and I work with a small executive committee in setting agendas and really bringing to the group's attention some of the issues that are most important to our work right now. Again, during COVID, we were really all struggling with very similar issues, and so we had a lot to talk about. But some of them are compliance oriented. So, certainly when it comes to, for instance, immigration regulations and so forth, we have some compliance issues to talk through. Some of them are more strategic. For instance, right now, we're very interested in working more closely with the diversity, equity, and inclusion offices on our respective campuses to bring global engagement and the equity, inclusion, and belonging activities closer together. And so that's the kind of topic on which we really have a lot to talk about with each other.
Right. Now, in terms of the geography, because some of these universities that I see, many of them are in the Midwest, but some of these are in the eastern part of the states. Is there like a geographical? How did these become like an area, or what are the criteria for having them?
Yeah, that's an interesting historical question. So as the Big Ten started, it really was, as you said, Midwestern focused, but it has indeed expanded. So now Rutgers University and the University of Maryland on the East Coast are part of our group. And again, we now have 2 schools from California that will become part of the group. So I have to say, there's less of a focal point in one part of the country anymore. Although most of our members are still Midwestern institutions. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, for our audience, we were very honored to be invited as a guest. We are a satellite office in UNAM Chicago, here of our big university in Mexico, and we were very honored to be invited to partake in your annual meeting. And we thought, well, you couldn't be there for some health issues, but it was nice. It was a really nice gathering. So and there was a lot of interest from some of your colleagues on our Spanish programs, for example. How often do you guys do these kinds of things? Do you always have like an international guest, or what do you think is the potential of doing all this networking?
Yeah, so we do from time to time invite guests to join us at these meetings. And Alberto, as you said, you are representing UNAM's Chicago office, and you are one of a network of global offices that UNAM maintains. And some of our universities likewise have global office networks. So at Indiana University, we have 5 foreign offices, and you're very familiar with one of them because it's in Mexico City and located on your campus. And we're very grateful for UNAM for hosting this office. It's been a fantastic supporter of the work we do in Mexico and throughout Latin America. And Ohio State likewise has several foreign offices, and some of the others. And we thought it would be very interesting to think from both sides, right? So as US based universities with our own foreign networks, we were very curious to hear from a foreign university with a US based network how you thought about representing UNAM's interests and priorities in the region, what your goals were for the Chicago site. And that's the kind of discussion where we just have so much to learn from each other. We work in close partnership on mobility and research collaborations and so forth, but it is interesting to step back and think about international higher education more broadly, and how our universities are situating themselves in the global environment. And so to have that kind of dialogue with a partner is an important part of the work we do together.
Absolutely. One of the universities also who's a part of a member of the Big Ten is the University of Illinois, who just recently last year opened also another office in our campus in Mexico, and we had the mayor and we had the chambers of commerce. So it was a very high level deal. So it just goes to show the importance that all these universities want to bring to the internationalization of our universities, right?
Yeah, and I think it's an important move past just mobility arrangements, right? So we've always had a lot of students going on study abroad, and we have, of course, a routine flow of faculty members crossing borders as they work with partners at other universities in other countries on their own research projects and so forth. But to have that more institutionalized, so to make really a more durable and sustainable commitment to certain regions by having a presence like this, year round in particular places, I think it's just so beneficial for the depth and range of the global activities we're able to undertake.
If I were to ask you, what do you think is the biggest challenge you have as an organization? What is the common thing that you always kind of like come across that says, like, we gotta work more on these types of connections? Or what would you say is the biggest challenge for you?
Other than funding, I would, it's with unlimited funds, oh my goodness, there's just so much that we would be able to do to further help our students. I mean, I would love in an ideal world to see every single student have an opportunity for overseas study or service learning or professional internship. I think that would be just amazing. But the fact is that's not at least today not financially feasible. So other than funding, let's see. The leftover effects of COVID are still for sure a challenge. Mm-hmm. Although we're rebounding in terms of the activity we're seeing among students and faculty, I think that's coming back. I have to say, in the United States right now, the geopolitical challenges, particularly with China, are certainly an issue. And I know the United States is not alone in that. I think there's just a lot of geopolitical challenges right now. But one of the hardest things recently has been the need of refugee students and scholars. So the situation in Ukraine and Afghanistan and now Iran also, I think this is a reality that all of our universities are grappling with, is how to be active and find a way to support as many refugee students and scholars as we can. And sadly, I think this is likely to be a part of our work going forward now. So I think that has really been quite a significant challenge for all of our institutions, I believe.
Right. Well, the good thing is like-minded people tend to get together and just brainstorm on these ideas, and I'm sure you'll come up with solutions, or at least kind of like pathways to try to ease those challenges. Again, now there was a lot of interest during that meeting that we attended in December. There was a lot of interest from some of your colleagues on our Spanish programs, for example. There was we openly discussed about like some of this, why would the students prefer to go to Spain to study Spanish instead of going to Mexico, where it's, right there, and there's the offer of like a huge, very vast offer. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I think we kind of like planted the seed for that cooperation, and I think something might come up. You and I and our team in UNAM Chicago have engaged in these types of things. So I think there's a lot of potential. Is there anything you want to add that you think could help improve this ongoing cooperation that we're establishing?
No, so on the point you just raised, I agree with you completely. I think there is a tremendous amount of potential there yet to be tapped. And I'm, my team is really looking forward to working with yours on that. I think, in a way, I come back to the strength of institutional partnerships, like the partnership between IU and UNAM. And again, UNAM has wonderful partnerships with many other universities as well, and also the ongoing work that we can do together with these local offices. I think this is just going to continue to improve the information flow and also the personal contacts and expanded networks that help support what we do. I'm very excited about, for instance, as we've had some fantastic music groups going back and forth, and people interested in the musical traditions in Mexico. And I think when we get more research-based connections like that generate excitement around particular substantive areas also, I just think we're going to see a big uptick in the work that we do together.
I totally agree with you. And well, we have a lot of time in our hands. We have a lot of projects to be made. Yeah. So these are exciting times. And Hanna, I really appreciate, I know you had limited time. I really appreciate that the minutes you devoted to my program. I hope to see you in person soon. And thank you for agreeing to do this.
Oh, my pleasure. And I hope so. I hope to see you in person soon as well on the next trip to Chicago.
Thank you very much, Hanna. Again, my name is Alberto Foncerrada. I am your host. I just had a conversation with Hanna Buxbaum. She's the Vice President for International Affairs at Indiana University, and she's the chair of the SIO, the Senior International Offices at the Big Ten Academic Alliance. So thank you very much for everyone who tuned in. Until the next time.